So getting back to what you mentioned earlier about, kind of being able to, like from a testing perspective and development, being able to replicate the noise.
Yep.
So, I mean, how does that work? I mean, because I'm trying to envision, what's the approach? Is there a structure or like a standard of saying, okay, this is how you go about doing, kind of trying to replicate the noise, or is it literally just kind of a little bit of everything and just guesswork?
No, we to reproduce the noise, we're using specific noise procedures that have been refined year after year after year. One of the key ones that people are using is the SAE J2521, which was designed, it's a very famous SAE standard designed, I think in 2006.
Okay.
So that was based on the TRW noise procedure at that time coming out of Europe. But this is really a great noise procedure, which basically generates a lot of noise. It's you drag the brakes. It's a worst case scenario. So the last 5 to 10 years, people have been refining this J2521. Some companies have been using that, making it longer, adding more modules, like the OEMs. I think in US, for the big three, every noise procedure they're using for validation is based out of J2521, but it's longer. Instead of being 1 or 2 days of testing, now it's 4 or 5 days. So these noise procedures are getting longer and longer. So I think the correlation between dyno and vehicle testing it's much better because of all these refinements, but we're still missing a few things. So as part of the SAE standard committee, I'm chairing the Brake NBH standards committee. We are looking at a new revision of J2521 to try to include more stops at low pressure, low speed, to try to include cold noise. One of the worst thing you can get is in the morning when it's very cold and wet, you typically get noise, cold noise. So the existing J2521 does not generate these conditions. We don't have that today in J2521.
I got you.
So one of the ideas of a few members of this task force is to add a module where we could have high humidity, cold temperatures to try to simulate these very specific conditions that you find only in few states in US, but they generate a lot of customer complaints. So, trying to refine this J2521. So we have a task force of, I think, about 15 people from OEMs, brake suppliers, friction suppliers, testing suppliers, shim suppliers, and we met a few weeks ago, and we're going to start working on how should we make this J2521 procedure better for the industry. Because at the end of the day, you want to correlate with vehicle testing so you can minimize the amount of testing everybody's doing, trying to find a noise, not finding the noise. Because if you could find a noise, at least you could work on it and try to fix it. If you don't get it, there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. So how do you go about changing like setting the standard? Like, is it like a really long process? Is it like a voting process? I mean, or does someone just literally just wave a magic wand and say, okay, here's the new standard, this is what we're going to do?
No, we typically we have a project. So we have a chairman for when somebody says, well, I want to work on, I don't know, this subject, and people agree in the committee, we set up a task force. We have a chairman, and we invite members to join. We talk to the industry experts. Like for this J2521 revision, I think we have 15 people. People who've worked in the industry for a long time. We have a lot of experience on noise. And then basically we draft a document. What we try to do is having something to be released in 12 to 18 months. Because we don't want this project to drag forever, because people would lose interest, you lose focus, you lose energy. So 12 to 18 months we think is a good way to do it.
Got it.
And then at the end of the day, when we have the draft, we submit it for ballot, and then the members of the standards committee can vote, approve, disapprove, or if they have comments, things they don't like, they can write them down, and then we'll review them, try to modify if we agree, and then go a second time to ballot, and then the new procedure will be released. That's the process.
And is this like a global standard with this, or is this more of a US based standard? And then like Europe and Asia or whatever, they necessarily don't have to follow that practice, I guess?
Yeah, they don't have to follow that, but what we're trying to do to avoid duplication, because I don't want to have to run three different standards. One, because we're all global now. So
Mm-hmm.
what we're trying to do for all these standards now is to have people from Europe join the task force. So in this J2521 task force, we have people from Europe. I think we have people from ZF, we have people from Volvo, people from Audi, because at the end of the day, again, we don't have time to use two standards, and at the end of the day, they tell you the same story. You know what I mean? It's little differences. So what we decided to do when I became the chairman of this committee is to really try to be global, at least Europe and US, and have something that we could use on both sides of the pond, so we don't have to replicate standard. And so that's the way we work.